And the new belt has arrived for the AKAI CS-F11. And let's fit it. The first step in fitting the new drive belt on the flywheel is to undo the bracket here to get to the flywheel itself. The top screws in good, easy enough. You can fit your screwdriver through here to undo it, but there's another screw at the bottom of the bracket there, and you haven't got much room there to fit it, to fit your screwdriver in there. So in that case, what I've done to get to it, I use a screwdriver bit, and on the end of it I use a tiny spanner, and gets the screwdriver in there and does the job. So using this tool, I was able to get to this screw here and just loosen it up, and the top screw you can get through that hole with just a regular screwdriver and undo that fully. You don't want to remove that screw down the bottom there. It's just going to be a pain to put it back in. So remove that screw there and swing the bracket out of the way. And the bracket comes out of the way. It'd be good if a screw came too. Alright, yeah, that's all good. Now the belt goes on the flywheel, on the smaller wheel on the flywheel, and on the motor pulley there, which have been cleaned. Let's have a look at that. So we got our belt here with the help of our little hook here. We get one end on the motor pulley, like that, and the other end on the flywheel itself. Like that, and spin it on there, like that. So that's the belt on, and believe me, this deck's been a pain in the ass, a bit of a basket case to fix, and not the easiest deck to work with. Yeah, so that's on. And just as an example of things, the speed screw for the motor set is here, right in there. And just to get in there is going to be a pain, let alone set it in that position. But yeah, the belt's on. Give it a bit of a lube on the tip of that locating screw and put the bracket on, and you'll see how we go. Counter belt still has to be replaced, and yeah, we'll see. Now while I was here, I did lubricate the motor shaft on this end of the motor. I've lubricated the center bracket centering bolt, and I did lubricate the capstan, this end of the capstan on the flywheel end of it. And I'm going to throw the bracket back on. I kept the bottom screw on so I don't have to fiddle with it and putting it back in. It's just a matter of finding that screw that fell in there and securing the bracket for now. I'm going to take the faceplate off, and that's not going to make it any easier to fit the counter belt here, but I'll have to clean the buttons at the front anyway, so here we go. Okay, quite a few minutes later I was able to fit that bottom screw in using another screwdriver to help put tension on it in that direction to tighten it. You need to do that to loosen it up anyway as well, and that keeps on happening. I'll never loosen this up. I think you can adjust it with an Allen key, but I never loosened it up, so I took it off without touching this, so it should be in the correct position now as well. That bottom screw there, to undo it and do it up, you need something like this, plus you need to put pressure on the screw with another screwdriver or some other tool that way. So yep, that's on. Let's get that screw out, or the screwdriver tip that was, wasn't it? Let's get that fascia plate off. Again, there's 3 screws holding it on the top. And 3 screws at the bottom, but let's get the cassette door off first. Out at the bottom, and out it comes. Let's get those 3 screws at the bottom. Looking at the bottom, there's 1, 2, and 3 screws down here. We'll get them off and have a look at what access we got to the front. So let's remove the knob first, and the second satellite knob as well, I guess, has to come out. Yep, definitely. It does have like a pulley bit on it. You can just put it on with your screwdriver or fingernails if you got fingernails, and that just comes out. Easy enough. Looking at the front of the unit, we can now remove the buttons, which I want to clean up. There's a screw down the bottom there. Okay, can lubricate the capstan from this side and throw on the counter pulley, counter belt on the pulley, and these buttons are supposed to be illuminated. The lights don't work on them at this stage. I don't know if you can even get globes for them still, but we'll have a look at that as well. The buttons come off easy enough after unscrewing them from the bottom, and have to unscrew these screws as well to get inside and have a look what's going on in there, give them a clean and check out those globes. Alright, the capstan washer I've removed earlier the first time I had a look at this deck, so it's not in place. So lube up the bearing with a tooth prick and work it in by pulling it, working it up and down. Yep. So that's both ends of the capstan lubed up. Clean off any excess that might be still there with alcohol. There was a cassette well cover in this deck, and it looks like this with a transparent window. It mounts on these two screws here, which I've put back in so I don't lose them, and there is an illuminating globe there which works. For the counter belt, I found this out of my collection. Let's hope it's the right size. As it turns out, that belt's way too long, so I found another one a bit shorter. I'll try that one, and that method that I tried earlier is probably not the best either. So you fit it in from the inside into the cassette deck well, and we'll try that again. This time I fed it in from the inside, hooked it up on the capstan, and I'm going to hook it up on the trigger wheel. It's with that propeller butterfly thingy. It looks like it might have a optical trigger on it. So that's hooked on the capstan on the other side. And you get the idea of what you have to do here to get it on. Just do that for now. Just do that for now. And get back to the front. Okay, I've got the belt on both ends. And the counter works, but unfortunately makes this noise. Hopefully that's not going to be doing it when it's playing. And yeah, this deck gives me the shits. So let's take a look at these buttons now and the illumination for them. I've looked at this before already, and they do have contacts on them like on a calculator or remote control, and I've cleaned them once already. And I'm going to clean them for the second time now. They do work, but a bit iffy. So here we go. There's your globes for the illumination of those buttons. And there's your carbon pressure pads, whatever you want to call them. Like that in the calculator. It's still got some filth on it. So I'm going to clean the carbon pads and the contact surface of the buttons with the alcohol again. And same with the buttons themselves. So I have cleaned the surface of these contacts with alcohol and microfiber cloth, and The buttons are cleaned up, the carbon pads are cleaned up with alcohol alone, and these contacts I've picked up from another YouTuber that you can clean any oxidization with a simple pencil eraser. So we'll try that, give it a clean once more and see how they work. With these globes I don't have anything like that, and not even sure if you can still get them. We'll look at that later. Okay, so I've cleaned up the contacts with a eraser, cleaned off the rubber residue with alcohol and microfiber cloth again. I'm going to give a second clean to this carbon pads again and put it back together without changing the globes at this stage, and we'll see how that works. This is the back of the buttons there, and those carbon pads go on top of it with a locating pin just here, and then it screws back to the board itself with the contacts. So I'm going to do that. This way. So with the screws in place, that can go back in, and hopefully it works this time. Looking at these button assembly from the bottom, it's screwed off on 2 screws. The problem with getting something that somebody has already messed around with, I only got it with 1 screw, so we'll have to find one somewhere to fit in there, and we'll see how we go. So at this stage, before I get any further, I just wanted to hook it up and see how it runs without assembling it any further. Now with the speed adjustment being there, right in there, right in there. This is a small screwdriver that you could use normally. There's no way you're going to fit that in there. And you can't really separate the bottom from it. Well, maybe you can, but yeah, maybe you can. Then again, you're working underneath the transformer and everything, so you have to be careful. I'm going to try it out, see how it goes. I'm not expecting the speed to be spot on, but I just want to hear what that counter belt sounds like and what everything else sounds like. Okay, with this hooked up to my good system, let's turn it on. And see what it does. Okay, it does spin by itself, and while the counter belt is moving, it's not actually spinning the numbers. It's never ending with this deck. You can see the gears moving, but it's not actually spinning up the numbers. The heads move into place as well. It runs pretty silent, but she'll bugger all torque on it. Yeah, I'm going to have a look at it one more time, and sometimes you just have to say enough is enough. That counter, for instance, there's no reason why it shouldn't move. As you can see, the belt is working, and you can see the trigger wheel working there, but the actual numbers are not moving for some reason. Oh, here we go, numbers are moving. Yeah, no torque to move the tape. Yeah, looking inside, this actually moves, and there's a bit of torque on here. The solenoids move. There's no rewind action on it. Play action is there, but probably not enough torque. Okay, let's take another look. I have come to a conclusion, and I know what's wrong with this deck still. And by looks of things, it needs new idler tires in it as well. And I mean, look at it. Like that one's there. We need a new idler tire there, and a new idler tire on this motor here, on this in there. And with the amount of time, and well, it's not really money because the tires wouldn't be that expensive, but with the amount of time you have to spend on this, I'm kind of voting against it. It's just not worth my effort. I'm not particularly a fan of his deck or anything, so I might have to sell it off as spares if someone wants it. And that's about it. Like I said, you have to say enough is enough. Yeah, not really a fan of this deck or anything, so might have to let it go there. It all works except for the record light on the buttons there. Buttons work fine as well now after all that. The pause button light works. The record light button doesn't work. Still probably burnt out globe. All the buttons work fine now on the first time. It's just a matter of replacing these two tires, or at least two that I can see. There might be, yeah, I think there's only two. One on the main motor, which would be easy enough to get to, and one on the second rewind fast forward motor, and one on the play motor. Yeah, I'm just not too keen on doing that. Unless circumstances change, I'm not really too keen on doing that. New counter build, new main build, needs two more tires, and yeah, peeling off all the layers of this mechanism with all its servos on and all that, and all the servos work. So yeah, one more try with a G tape. It won't play my TDK tape, it'll play this freaking G tape. Apparently the G tape needs less torque than the TDK to make a run. Bloody good match, G tape and the AKAI. It still needs new tyres. It needs a new tyre right in there where that rewind fast forward motor is. Looking at it like this, I can see some remnants of some rubber stuff here, and that belt on that tyre there on that pulley will need to be replaced as well. That's for the play torque. It won't play properly unless it's got torque, good grip on that tyre there, and it's got absolutely zero grip on the fast forward and rewind tyre that's visible just there. And pause it. And I've had just about enough of this. Yep.